I know. Somebody's thinking binding arbitration. Phew. Arbitration dispute resolution process in which the disputing parties choose one or more neutral third parties to make a final and binding decision resolving the dispute. Yes, I went through one of these binding arbitrations, and maybe we should call Shannon Miller and Horowitz and Associates, which got served that complaint from my client. Yes, one day after the 2 years was up, that I was no longer considered a broker of Horowitz and Associates. Yep. When it's not binding, yeah, and you don't enforce the rules of arbitration, and I mentioned the little $150 or $150 billion lawsuit against FINRA and the SEC. Let's just go through all of those brokers again and brokerages and the actual credit scores of them, the FICO scores. And then there's the bank credit and the banks. Just give me the bank accounts of all of those that have been or are Series 7, Series 6, 63, Series 24, Series 3. In fact, all the series, as well as the registered investment advisors that think that Markowitz's asset allocation is the only way to go, and you can always recalculate, you could reallocate out of a crisis. Now, you thought I was stupid for thinking that yield could play a part in not realizing a loss in your overall portfolio value. But it seems that when FINRA didn't enforce the rules of arbitration, yes, maybe Stole and Burn remembers this, where it's on my CRD. Yes, I specifically said, why do I pay fees to belong to the financial industry regulatory authority? Yes, when the regulators don't enforce the actual laws or the rules of binding arbitration. Yeah, maybe Keith remembers that phone call that we had when we were living in Vancouver. Yes. Now, I'm going to need to know all the binding arbitrators of the United States of America that have sworn that if they ever had knowledge of fraud, forgery, misrepresentation, I can personally sue them. Pooch. And then every employee of FINRA and every employee of the Securities Exchange Commission, yes. And all the employees of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, yes. All of those bank regulators that said, well, we have no liability for the crime. Ooh, I think you do. Now, I'm thinking of a variation of the lawsuit where I involve myself, yes, and what could be multiple other parties, yes, yes, that might be close relatives or somebody that like to be a friend of mine, yeah, somebody that would volunteer. Just get me the employees of this. Oh no, Mary Shapiro hasn't been there for a while. Janet, were you calling somebody that I wasn't aware of? Yes. There was Ketchum. You remember that guy? Pooch. Seemed like FINRA was really heavy-handed, and you know when the market goes down. Yes. As soon as your client has $5,000 worth of losses, they're going to write up one of those complaints and they're going to hammer the shit out of you. Pooch. It's kind of like the market's up at 25,000 and then it goes down to 2,000, and for some reason they're 5% of their $1 million portfolio. They lose $50,000 and they blame you. It seems that the government's independent regulatory administration association, yeah, you know who they are, those that do the regulating of all the financial industry. They don't want to hear that the market went down. They don't want to hear that the person spent all their money. As long as they lose the client more than $5,000, you're going to get a complaint. And if you got more than three of them during the course of your career, you're out, you're booted, you're gone. Pouch. See, the financial industry likes those that are rookies. They promise them a couple $100,000 a year. You buy yourself one of these McMansions. Pouch. You wear a suit and tie. Your clients will love you, and when the market goes up and when it goes down, they'll destroy your career. And the brokerages sit back and they look at the actual evidence. They say, well, you did write a rationale. And she decided to take all her money out on September 13th of 2011. Yes, 2001. And then, oh, she spent it all and it's my fault. And oh, I'm the one that's paying them $25,000 fine. See, the regulatory authorities don't really understand when the market goes down. And Let's look at it, okay? Shannon Miller, coach. Ron Erickson, that was there during the arbitration. Yeah, he's always been a big player there at Kingsway Foursquare Church. Isn't that right, Ron? Coach. You know, if I thought about the amount of harassment, ooh, ooh, why don't you give me the employees of the regulatory authorities of the United States of America? I thought I'd sue SEC out of existence. Yes, these independent agencies that were started so as to take a very close look at the fiduciary obligation of brokers and brokerages. Yeah. And then there was Valerie Amber, and I called her as soon as I got to my grandmother's house in January of 2012. Yeah. I thought, well, why don't I call FINRA and find out how that, that independent audit that you did of me at 224 West Washington Street. Yes. Seems that somebody was really calling in some favors right now. Now, I know that every independent broker that has more than 3 or 4 complaints gets to be audited by FINRA. Oh, Valerie, are you going to be back in about 3 minutes? Seems that the number 3 is very important to those in the family. Did you need to come some money, or did your contractor husband need to come some money? Why don't we look at the actual binding arbitration that I've experienced? Yes. And the violating of the rules of binding arbitration. And then all of those employees of FINRA or the SEC that are in the family, and they came the money. And they decided that as soon as the market goes down, it's the broker that's a fucking idiot right now. Yeah, Horowitz, Ed Horowitz was spent the last 25 years being tortured by those in the family. Did you? Ooch, who had my left hand when I... Oh, my wife had a lizard in her ass for most of our marriage. She never told me that. And so did Horowitz. Top secret royal family. Well, why don't we just look at it? $150 billion. Get me all the employees of the independent regulatory authorities of the United States federal government right now. Catch 'em.